Hello everyone, this is Mr. ROG Thor and welcome back to my lobby. Today I'm excited to share with you my experience with getting one of the most powerful custom water cooling PC from AFTERSHOCK PC Australia. They specialize in custom PC builds and are based in Melbourne. By the end of this video, you'll get to know the pros and cons of this powerful PC and whether or not AFTERSHOCK PC is a good choice for your next computer purchase in Australia. First things first, I want to mention that this video is not sponsored by AFTERSHOCK PC or any other party. I simply want to share my honest experience with you. Also, a quick disclaimer, I am not a qualified PC installer and everything in this video is based on my experience with the build and my personal opinion, as well as some research I did on the internet. I have split this video into chapters in case if you're not interested in any chapter, you can skip ahead from the timeline below. So let's get started. I reached out to AFTERSHOCK PC in August 2022 to purchase a custom open-loop PC. The quoted price was 11,938 Australian dollars. And the configuration is one of the most robust systems in the market with a powerful CPU and GPU. This build included a Hyte Y60 tempered glass mid-tower case, which is popular by the fish tank, an ASUS ROG STRIX X670EA gaming Wi-Fi motherboard, which supports the new AMD AM5 chip, an AMD Ryzen 9 7950X, which is 16 cores, 32 threads, an ASUS TUF RTX 4090 OC gaming 24GB. However, what you see on the screen now is an ASUS ROG STRIX RTX 4090 OC. I'm not sure why they have changed it during the install, but it doesn't matter, both of them are good. 64GB of Corsair Dominator Platinum RGB 5200 MHz, which is 2 of the 32GB chips, DDR5 of course. And also I have a total storage of SSD drives of 20 TB, which are combination between M.2 and SATA. And also we have included the ASUS ROG Thor 1200W and among other high-end components. The reason for building such a powerful system because I needed to enhance my workflow and rendering time, as my old system was taking forever to render one project, and of course I'm gonna use it for some gaming. However, I am a PlayStation fan and I'll continue playing with my PlayStation 5, even though that machine can run games much better than PlayStation 5. However, that quote changed several times due to waiting for some components to be in stock and some components to be released in the market, as they were very new, like the CPU and the GPU. The adjustments took from August till December 2022 until all components were available. I also shared with AFTERSHOCK PC how I wanted the PC to look in terms of colors and the theme of the system, especially after looking at their portfolio on Instagram and looking at all their wicked systems they have built. Amazing. The quote was finalized and the deposit was paid before Christmas time in December 2022. I had to send them my capture card, the Elgato 4K 60 Pro Mark II, and also another 2TB M.2 so they can install them during the build, as it will be impossible to fit them in after installing the tubes. And this is why I was not active at all since the end of December. And to clarify the importance of what I'm saying now, Mr. ROG Thor is my second YouTube channel, but this one is in English. And I needed to be more active than this to grow my channel and to get more audience. But because of that build and taking my components out of my old PC, send it to them for the new PC, I was not able to be active at all. Now, before I continue, if you like that video already or by the end of it, you'll find that you want to see more of what I will stream in the future, don't forget to hit that like button and also hit subscribe and the notification bell to all so you can get notified whenever I release a new video. Now, let's continue. When I received the device on the 30th of January 2023, I was super excited to test it out and to create content for my YouTube channel, and especially content about this PC and how powerful is that beast. During the build, AFTERSHOCK PC lab department, which is called Ultra Labs, kept sending me photos of how it looked like before they fill in the coolant. By that time, I realized that they will never meet my expectations in terms of looking and colors, as I didn't feel that they are experienced enough or even they have the communication methods required to work with their customers about setting up the theme for the system. No creativity at all, I will have to say. And also, alongside the system didn't match my requested custom look and my RGB lights were not set up as requested, the out-of-the-box experience was the most horrific experience of my life. I was also instructed to install all the applications required for setting up the RGB lights, which should have been pre-installed according to their email. Additionally, the Lane streamers were not working and the lights were not on. The problem was that their USB was not plugged in properly inside the case, so I had to open the back of the case and go through the pull cable management and plug it back in. Also, a quick information for the RTX 4090, the streamer to the GPU is not meant to be plugged into the GPU, but the GPU strips can be attached to the power that goes to the GPU and make it look like as if it's connected to the GPU. However, they decided to throw it loose. I also had to install Windows 11 Pro, as they had provided me with the wrong Windows version, which I requested, and they installed Windows 11 Home instead. After installing everything from Windows 11 Pro to all the required RGB applications, antivirus, Microsoft Office, and all applications I'm using for my work, and also transferring all my data to it and finishing with Windows updates, the Wi-Fi stopped working. I thought maybe it was a glitch in the system, as it may need a restart, especially after all the software I installed and the update for the Windows as well, so I performed the restart. And then the system did crash and didn't want to log into Windows again after it gave me the blue screen, which some refer to as the blue screen of death. It reached the state to it was displaying on the screen that there is no input signal. And I couldn't even back up the data that I have transferred to it, and that was my mistake, that I trusted the system. They asked me to send the PC back to them so they can fix it, and I had my clear instructions that not to format any other drive other than the C, which have the Windows, as the rest of the drives have my personal data, which had the work of my life and some crucial data, which can do a huge damage to me and my life. I even mentioned these instructions in 2 methods on the phone with their sales representative and wrote them in an email. I also shipped the antenna or the Wi-Fi extender for the wireless connection back so they can test the device using the Wi-Fi network to check if it will stop working with them or not, as it did to me. The system stayed with them for a week and then it was shipped back to me. I asked what was the main problem causing the crash, and they mentioned they do not know. But they took the initiative by replacing the RAM with the same exact one, but having a new firmware version. So I was relieved, I think. Also, they said the M.2 drive were doing some funny business, so they formatted the C and the D. And at that time I was like, what? D is not an M.2, and also it had my crucial data, and my instructions were not formatting anything except the C, and no one from them came back to me to ask my permission for taking that action. Instead, they took the initiative to format the drive. I did ask for the tests and the reports for these tests, and surprisingly, they performed the same tests that couldn't pick up the problem in the first place. And my question was so simple. How do you know if it was fixed or not, if these tests especially couldn't pick up the problem in the first time? And the answer was I couldn't get an answer for that question probably. I received the system once again, and this time I was super excited because my dream PC has arrived, even though the look of it is not what I wished for, but still looks good and better than my old PC. First, the PC came in a wooden crate, different than the last time, and it looks wicked in that crate. But they had 2 locks on it with a key combination, which they didn't send me any combination, and it was the end of the business day. So I had to message the sales representative, and thank God he answered and gave me that key combination. I was stressing out because I felt like I had the PC but I can't unbox it because it was locked and I'm not gonna have the enjoyment of my life during that day. Okay, now I was about to plug it in into the power and into the screen, and I turned it on. The RGB color theme was purple, and that was not my main color theme, but I said that was fine and it was the least of my concerns, so let's move on. I started to configure the Wi-Fi connection at my house, and that's when I realized that they didn't ship back the antenna, which is the Wi-Fi extender, and based on my location of my office at my house, I needed the antenna. And I was like, no, why are you doing this to me? Why nothing is going smooth with that PC? I was not happy at all. I managed to organize a temporary internet connection, but it was slow, the best I can do in such a situation. I sent an email back about the antenna and the lost data and held them liable for this data as my instructions were clear and it was in their care and responsibility. So they better recover my data or compensate me for this amount of money I have lost. I stayed all night installing all my software and tools for my work. Everything finally was running smooth and nothing was wrong until I decided to try to restart the device. And it happened. The blue screen of death.
ESOD.
I was relieved that I was able to pass the blue screen and Windows opened again. But the funny thing I found is that whenever I do a restart, the device lights up and everything looks working fine inside the case. You know, the lights are working and everything, but there is no input signal message on the screen. I had to do a hard shutdown. It's by pressing the power button for like few seconds to shut it down and then turn it on again so it can work. But restarting it from Windows causing issues. After coming back and forth with them, they agreed to take back the PC and refund me the full amount of money. Now, let's talk about the pros. The pros of such powerful system are that you can guarantee that it will do any type of work without the doubt of running slow if the system actually worked. The water cooling system helps to keep the system at a low temperature and also reduces the noise that can be generated by the fans from the CPU, especially the GPU. Also, the open loop gives you a unique presence to your device, along with the industrial look of the tubes with the RGB lighting. The AMD Ryzen 9 7950X advantage over Intel is its low temperature and also proven benchmark test that it can handle work better than Intel 13th gen. As for the RTX 4090, our beast, you can guarantee the unforgettable experience you can get playing all new games almost on ultra high graphical settings. And as for content creators and photographers, you will have the best renderer of all time as it is 10 times faster than its predecessor, the RTX 3090. Now, let's talk about the cons. The cons of the open-loop PC are concerning because it is very hard to troubleshoot some of the components of the system, as that can require draining out the coolant and deassemble the tubes. Also, every few years, if not every year, the coolant has to be drained out and perform a service to the water cooling system. Another thing, since the RTX 4090 and the motherboards for the AM5 are new to the market, there will be a lot of issues with these products at the start. For example, the RTX 4090 riser cable problem and the power cable problem, which we will talk about in a second. Also, for the motherboard, you need to keep updating the BIOS, as there will be incompatibility with most of the new RAMs at the start, which will cause a lot of crashes and a lot of misreading, like they can read DDR5 as DDR4 if the BIOS is not updated. Now let's talk about the pros of AFTERSHOCK PC. AFTERSHOCK PC was professional in their communication and polite in their replies to my emails, and I think these are the pros of buying from them. I will talk about the cons in a second, but let me tell you the most interesting thing. I have decided to search for this problem myself, and what I found is very interesting. There is more than one reason causing this issue. First, it can be the power supply. Second, it can be the RAMs, and usually the LED for the RAMs on the motherboard can give you an indication. It can be the graphic card, which is the GPU, and that can also be identified through the LED on the motherboard where it says VGA. If the GPU mount was vertical, it can be the connection to the PCIe slot, which is the riser cable. And according to some people, they had to buy another Gen 4 riser cable to make the RTX 4090 work. Also, it can be the power cable to the GPU, and there is big noise about the cable melts because of the manufacturer's defect of the cable that comes with the GPU from NVIDIA. You will have to buy a third-party 12-volt high-power cable to connect to the GPU. Otherwise, the GPU will not receive the 450 or the 600 watt it should receive. Well, guess what? I have noticed the LED on the motherboard goes white, solid white, when I restart, and this goes only to the VGA lights. So in this case, the GPU can be faulty, or maybe they have damaged it while installing the water block on the GPU, or it can be the connection, for example, to the PCIe, or it can be the PCIe port itself on the motherboard, or last thing, it can be the power coming to the GPU. Anyhow, it wasn't my job to troubleshoot anymore, as I didn't pay 12 grand for fixing up their mistakes. And especially, they should know this better than me, instead of changing the RAMs for no reason. They didn't try simple trial and error troubleshooting method. Now, let's talk about the cons of using AFTERSHOCK PC. The cons of using AFTERSHOCK PC: they couldn't build a powerful, high-budget working PC. They couldn't show the talent in getting close to the theme I wanted for my PC. They couldn't troubleshoot issues at all, and they couldn't follow the client's instructions. The damages of losing personal data were significant, and the out-of-the-box experience was terrible. Additionally, when I asked for compensation for the delays and the horrible experience I faced the first time before I sent them back the PC, they said, "We don't throw anything for free," and they only offered some merchandise with the logo on it, which was not satisfactory because they sent 3 stubby holders and a cheap mouse. In conclusion, I personally do not recommend AFTERSHOCK PC for custom high-end builds, especially when it is something new to the market. This is only my personal opinion, and don't get me wrong, you might have a better chance with them. But my personal opinion is based on my experience, as they do not deliver as promised, cannot troubleshoot issues properly, and also unreliable and unprofessional when taking responsibility for their mistakes. I will explain in a second. For normal custom builds and low to mid-budget PCs, they should be fine, as everything should be straightforward with these builds. Well, if it is low to mid-budget PCs, you actually don't need them and you can build it yourself. So, in conclusion, for custom looks and design, I was not lucky enough, or maybe they assigned the wrong person to my device. But according to their Instagram, they should know how to custom look your device. Now, this device has been shipped back and the refund has been processed, but the attempt to recover the data they have lost has failed. And also they rejected to compensate me. An AFTERSHOCK PC director sent me an email saying they do not believe me for not having any copies of this data that I lost with them, and they doubt that I didn't back this data up as a professional person like myself should do. Well, everyone does some mistakes, and this is one of my mistakes, that I trusted the system and also I didn't have a backup, which is a totally separate issue. But that doesn't absolve AFTERSHOCK PC from liability for the data loss, as they had clear instruction not to delete any data from other drives. The AFTERSHOCK PC response towards the matter and their attempt to get away from this is and not. They didn't even bother by discussing or negotiating the compensation. They just ignored me. Well, customer support AFTERSHOCK PC, well done. I am 100% confident that I will never use them again, as they if they cannot take responsibility for their actions. That's in my own personal opinion. I have contacted M.2 to get a quote for the same system, but unfortunately, M.2 do not have all the components in stock, and they said they cannot do it because of this matter. In addition to, their prices for some components were a bit higher than the market. That's the problem with M.2. And also, the quote for labor only for assembling an open loop was around 1,500 Australian dollars. Also, the M.2 customer support team on the phone sometimes is a bit in communications. Again, I do not understand how they call it support. I have decided to build the rig myself and go through the adventure on my own, and I am super excited as it will be my first rig to build on my own. I started the process already, and I reached to some computer shops and I bought the components from them. These shops are very good in customer support and in price wise and availability also of stock. I will share these details in the next video while sharing the experience of assembling the rig with you. But before I go, here is one for you, AFTERSHOCK PC. Since your initial compensation for the delay and sending back the PC to you for the first time was 3 stubby holders and a mouse with your logo on them, if this video review had any impact on you and did any damage, then please accept your free merchandise back to you. May they compensate your loss as you did to me. Mr. ROG Thor, out.